point should you comment on another player's decision? For example, someone's feeding a fish a lot. At what point can somebody like reasonably comment? So this is a delicate one because that person is your opponent. And if you're too forceful with it, one, they're not gonna listen to you. If you're not like vocal enough, they're just gonna be oblivious to it. I have oftentimes found that particularly like with a fish, the best way to discuss it is before anybody starts jamming into it. Because what'll happen is one person will jam into it and start getting ahead, and then that will incentivize the other players to not fall behind, thus further snowballing the fish player to get ahead. And that's just kind of like a overall arcing. Like if there's maybe like a stacks piece on the board that isn't hurting people as much as like, let's say there's one player that's getting hurt worse than like another player, but another player's getting hurt enough by it where they're thinking about targeting that stacks piece. Like you might want to point out that like, hey, it's not really hurting you that bad. It's hurting me pretty good as well. And it's completing shutting out the third person. And sometimes just by kind of pointing it out with a little bit of logic, that will be enough to sway their decision. Like when it comes to kind of pointing out play decisions or player decisions, you have to kind of have to have a soft touch, kind of like a pickpocket or a safecracker. It's not to say you're not, getting their wallet and getting the goods, but you got to have a gentle touch. I'm not necessarily a safecracker or a pickpocket, but that is definitely more effective than, the barbarian technique. So, what about you guys?
After you, James.
All right. So, going back to the previous question about politics, this is what politics looks like in a CDH game. When and how to approach talking about things affecting the table. So, like, in the fish situation, talking about how we're going to handle the fish before people start feeding it, that's really the best way to handle it. If somebody, I see there's a note in chat here about, like, what if, Godo's feeding the fish and they're trying to win on turn 4? Like, they can do that. If you don't want them to feed the fish, maybe you try to point out that, like, hey, they're probably going to have interaction for you. Right. And then you're just setting them up. But it's a difficult and delicate line to walk because every player who makes a decision, typically, I'm going to say like 99% of the time, every once in a while you've got, your casual player who rolls dice to determine what they're going to do next or whatever. But, ignoring those guys, everybody's got a reason for the play they're making. Now, you might disagree with those reasons, right? Those reasons might be the result of poor threat assessment, or those reasons might be something that you disagree with because it puts you in a bad spot, right? And sometimes those things are hard to separate from each other.
And reconcile,
yeah. But the thing you have to kind of approach with this is, how do you get them to not necessarily see things your way, but consider your viewpoint?
Right. Yeah.
Oh my god, the D20 cards, no.
Oh, I know.
There's so much I love about this set, what's been spoiled, and there are certain things about the D20 cards I love, but there are certain things that's just like, I don't know.
And just make sure you use a real D20 and not a Magic the Gathering
spin down,
life total spin down, because they are not
the D20s in the gift or the bundles and gift packs for what is the set code name? It's AVR.
AFR.
Is that what it is? AFR. So yeah, the bundles are going to have an actual D20 in them.
Oh, nice.
The 20 is the symbol for the set, but the rest are not spin downy.
Oh, good. Good.
Which is nice. It's a nice touch.
Yeah, because with the spin downs, you either have to cheat or you never crit.
Yeah. I mean, there's an argument to be made that, like, they're not any more, weighted than, say, your sleeves sticking together because it's humid and you're a sweaty human. But, like, that's a whole other argument.
Yeah, true. True. All right. Cricket, what about you?
I think another thing to consider when you're talking to somebody about what they're doing and their threat assessment, or maybe feeding the fish, is this your regular play group, or is this a group of strangers that you're playing with online? Because if it's a group that you're playing with normally and you're likely to have more games, it might even be a good idea to just talk to them afterwards. Just be like, hey, this is what went on during that game. This is what happened when you did that thing that I was trying to tell you not to do, and you saw where that went now. So maybe we see next time you don't do that again.
Yeah, you schmuck.
Well, I mean, obviously in more nicer terms than what I'm saying now, but you get the gist of it. Just have that conversation with them afterwards so they can actually see what the result of feeding the fish is.
If I may, what's the Wikipedia link, Jay Ryan?
I think it's magic. Mathery.
You can also whisper it to me and I'll take a look and I can post it. I don't know how. Honestly, I'm not good enough with Twitch to know how to unlock it.
Yeah. I think Cricket's got a really good point there, though. Like, knowing your group matters with this too. Like,
it does a lot.
I think if somebody were to take what has been going on in the MLC versus what happens in just an unknown group of players with regards to fish and Ristic and things like that, I think there's a different level of discipline, for lack of a better term, between a random pickup pod where people are just looking to play a game and do whatever versus a group of people who kind of all know each other to a certain extent already and know what their opponents are on and have some understanding of the structure. People have been much more hesitant to feed a fish in MLC games that I've played in compared to random pickup pods. Not to say that fish don't get fed.
Yeah,
I think I paid 5 for an upkeep cost on a fish in my last game. It was such a weird game.
People
this
are
is
doing
not
it
my
with
last
more
game,
purpose,
2 games ago, but
with more intent.
But there's definitely a difference. Some people just want to jam and go for it, and that's part of threat assessment is knowing when to jam and go for it, and it's part of learning how to get better at playing CDH. If you keep jamming and going for it into a fish and then not winning, maybe that's a lesson. Maybe we should learn. Maybe. Whether you get a lesson out of your lesson board or whether you draw on discard, it's up to you, but maybe you should learn.
Maybe. Just a little bit. All right. You want to snag the next question? Or do we got more thoughts on this one?
I think that about sums that one up.
All right.